Alrighty, everyone, it is currently Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, and this episode is the first of a revelation of sorts, you know? It's maybe it's obvious if you've ever listened to any of this, it's kind of becoming obvious to me now, but I'm very good at talking about things that I hate. Like it's when like if I have to talk about something that I like, I'm just like I'm completely lost for words. I'm not able to put a fucking sentence together. But when I'm talking about something that I hate, when something that just like it really fucking irks me, you know what I mean? And not something that I like deeply, deeply hate, right? Like racism or whatever. Like I don't know. There's not a whole lot that I could say about racism because it's like, yeah, no, you just you shouldn't be doing that. Like that's the extent that I can go to. I'm not gonna bust out any fucking, studies or scientific articles or whatever. I'm just gonna be like, nah, nah, I don't like it. I don't fuck with it. But when there's a little thing, and it's especially when it's a thing that like some people don't hate or even that some people like, it's I'm just so good at talking about it and how much I fucking hate it, right? It's truly incredible. Like I don't talk a whole lot, to a lot of people and shit. But like when I'm driving alone in my car and there's traffic in front of me, I mean, God, it's fucking over, dude. It's a 30-minute straight rant of just how do you not know how to drive? How do you not know how to take a fucking turn like that? All right, just because the light is red doesn't mean you can't fucking not turn on it. All right, like I'm full on. I'm like Quentin Tarantino on meth when I'm in traffic. I swear to God. Just like for 30 minutes, longer than that, dude. We're talking hours straight. And sometimes it's not even out loud. Sometimes I get so angry that I can't even fucking talk out loud about traffic. It's like just in my head. It's just like some little, I don't know, Quentin Tarantino's soul leaves his body for a little bit, smokes a little bit of meth, comes into my mind and goes, "All right, we're going to talk about traffic today." I've had enough of the fucking traffic. And I know what people are going to say. People are going to be like, "Oh, well, some people, who likes traffic." Because that was like the whole thing I was saying. Like, I'm very good at hating on things that some people like. There are people that like traffic, right? The existence of the suburbs is proof of that. It is proof that some people like traffic. Some people just enjoy everyone having to take a fucking 10-ton car that's 18 feet long, 45 minutes, 2 hours, however fucking long your commute to work is. They like that. They enjoy that. They don't want to have to live in a fucking townhouse. They need, I don't know, for some reason they need spaces in between their house and the house fucking next to them. They need a yard that they never fucking use, right? It's that's proof that people they might not like the traffic, but they're not doing anything to stop it. You know what I mean? They're not, and that's the whole thing. That goes back to like the suburbs are just trying to have your cake and eat it too. You can't have both. You can't live in a nice old big house, but then also live to like close to a city center or whatever. Unless you're like a Vanderbilt or a Rockefeller or some shit like that. Like unless you're poisoning rivers in like South America and Africa and shit, you're not going to be able to afford a big house that's like relatively close to a city center. It's just, I mean, look, I guess the suburbs is proof that that's not true, but so many things are going to have to be sacrificed for that. Your sanity, your happiness, the environment. I mean, everything, the economy, all of it's going to have to be sacrificed so that you can have a fucking yard with a barbecue that you don't know how to work, right? With a fucking grill, with a smoker that you use twice a year and you completely give up on and just go to fucking Zarda's or Gates or whatever to get your fucking ribs because you're a fat, slovenly piece of shit who can't accept the fact that you don't need a big ass fucking yard to survive. You don't have anything. You don't have children. You don't have dogs. You are alone. You are, and even if you did have kids, you wouldn't be fucking raising them, right? So I'm kind of glad you don't. They definitely wouldn't be playing in the yards, dude. If you've ever been to the suburbs before, none of the kids are playing in the yards. None of them are. They're all in the fucking house on their iPads or whatever the fuck kids use nowadays. They're probably more. They're not. And that's the other thing about like kids using technology and being on like iPads and fucking whatever the fuck all the time. They're not more technologically literate than anyone else. Like truly, because the fucking iPad, that shit does everything for you. You don't need to like I don't know like diagnose any issues. It fucking updates on its own. It does literally everything for you. It auto saves fucking everything. So they're not even more technologically literate. It's just their brains are just rotting. Their eyes are fucking bulging out of their skulls and melting from looking at blue light for 8 hours a day. And they don't even get anything out of it, right? Like at least in the I don't know, like the 90s and early 2000s, and even up to like the early 2010s. If you spent all day on a computer, you knew fucking everything about that computer, right? You knew the ins and outs of it. You could fucking, diagnose the issue, be like, oh, fucking, it's not doing this right, then I need to do this, this, and that. But then the fucking, the iPads and the technology got better, and now no one knows how to do any of that anymore, including me. Like the second something stops working, I just give up on it immediately. But at least in my defense, like the one piece of technology that I use all the time is my PlayStation 5. I know how to run that bitch, dude. I've got a tight hold on my PlayStation 5. I got a tight hold on that hoe. I'm over here smacking her ass, being like, do that shit quicker, do this. I know how to fucking, I have like the Mongols, like their relationship with their horses, like the horses that they would ride into battle and shit, the relationship they have with those horses is, I'd say, probably equivalent to what I have with my PS5, dude. I know. I spend all day with it. I know the ins and outs of it. I know how to make it do this. I know how to make it do that. The internet's not working. All right, we got to stop it, turn off the internet, restart it a couple times, then the internet's going to start working on it again. I know how to fucking run that bitch like anyone else. But people with like their phones or whatever, like their phone just stops working and they're like, they Google one thing and they're like, all right, time to take it to a fucking Indian at the Apple store and get this thing fixed. And that's the other thing, is that Apple has kind of monopolized a lot of technology, especially the most prevalent technology, which is phones. They've kind of monopolized that. And if you know anything about Apple, then you know you're not fixing that shit yourself. All right. Maybe some of the older models you could, replace the battery on or whatever, but you're really not fixing that yourself. And all the other companies now have followed suit because they realized how much Apple was making from customers having to go into the store every time they wanted something on their phone fixed, right? Every time their phone froze because they were trying to find fucking the Belle Delphine OnlyFans and accidentally downloaded 80 fucking viruses, right? They had to go into the Apple store after that. And all these other companies, they realized that. Like, I don't know about Samsung, but I have a Google phone, and Google definitely realized that, dude. And Google is like, honestly, it's like the least evil of all those companies, right? Like, Apple is, they're just like these pure fucking like late stage capitalists that use like slave labor and stuff. And all their products are like built to not work within the year. And then you have Windows, which, most Windows products are fine, but their CEO is like an absolutely evil person who like goes to India to test experimental vaccines on peasant children. If you've never heard about this before, look at it. Like Bill Gates, he I don't know if he was like a funding what the fuck he was doing, but he did some shit with a pharmaceutical company where he tested these vaccines in India and like all the kids were born with like backwards legs. Like it literally he turned like several villages in India into the hills have eyes so he could test like a vaccine for like I don't even fucking know what, dude. We got all that shit covered. It's, I'm not like anti-vax, but I feel like we got the big ones covered. Unless you got a vaccine for fucking AIDS or like cancer or something, I don't want to hear about it. Oh, you have a vaccine for fucking the common cold? Yeah, that shit lasts like a week and you drink some orange juice and you're fine. I don't need villages in India to be razed to the fucking ground by Bill Gates and whatever pharmaceutical companies he's working with so that I don't get the common cold. I'm perfectly fine with having a common cold. I can function basically just as well. And if you need a vaccine for the common cold, it's time to call it quits, brother. I hate to break your heart. It's time to call it quits. You know what I mean? Find some fentanyl, some oxycontin, drink 10 gallons of vodka. Just take yourself out nice and easy. Because if a cold is taking you out, it's you were done for anyway. It was it was over. If you need a fucking life alert, if you start coughing and you like press the button on your life alert, it's just you gotta call it. I don't get these people that are obsessed with living to like 120 years. I don't want to live to 120 years old. I don't want to live to 80, even 80. I think 80 is a good age. It depends on how much you work out and like what you're eating and stuff, but like I'm not trying to live to 80. It's and that's like what all like these technology like CEOs are obsessed with. Like that guy Brian Johnson. He gets his blood replaced like every week. Dude, he's getting like Frankenstein experiments done on him so that he can live to be like 120 years old. And it's like why would you want to do that, dude? In 120 years? I don't know. Unless something really gets turned around, dude. unless unless a certain mustachioed man comes back from the dead. No. But things are probably going to be just as bad, if not worse, in 120 years. It's in 120 years, it's going to be 120 degrees outside. Okay, it's just going to be perpetually. You're going to be in a sauna all the time, and maybe that's why they want to live that long. Because all like these technology dudes and shit, I swear to God, they're all obsessed with like saunas and stuff. And I think that's like a Rogan thing. Like they all watch Rogan so that they can like I don't know fit in with the common people or whatever, and. They're just like obsessed with saunas. So maybe that's why they want to live to be 120 years old. So that every time they go outside, they're basically in a fucking sauna. They're basically just in a perpetual fucking just a sauna, just sweating every single crevice, every single fold on their wrinkly, old, leathery bodies is seeping sweat all the time. Maybe that's why they want to live to 120 years old. I don't want to do that. I don't want to see that. Dude, I've already had enough. Every night when I go to bed, I dream about like fighting in a war and just dying in a field in fucking Ukraine or whatever. Like that's how I'm trying to go. I'm not trying to live to 120 years old. I'm trying to sprint full speed at an enemy trench and get mowed down by a machine gun. That's what the fuck I'm trying to do. That's what I need to happen to me. I don't need to live to 120 years old and have to get my fucking kidneys drained every single week. I don't want to do that. There's nothing appealing to me about that in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know. They're just obsessed with living forever. Maybe it's because they know if they go to hell, they're gonna have to pay, or when they die, they're gonna go to hell and have to pay for their crimes that they committed up here. But I don't know. They're just obsessed with it, and that's my problem with like new money. Because new money is just so goddamn like old money, like really old fucking money. I'm talking about like older than like the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and shit like that. I'm talking older than like J.P. Morgan or whatever. I'm talking like royal bloodlines, shit in like Sweden and fucking Norway and just European countries. I like that old money because for the most part, like that old money. I guess in the UK it's a little bit different. They're a little more out there, especially with Meghan Markle coming in and causing a ruckus just because someone called her infant child the N-word. Oh, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. But even then, it's like if I had $1 billion, if I was living in like the most expensive house in the world, which is what like a Windsor Castle is, which is like where the royal family lives, or Buckingham Palace or whatever the fuck it's called. If I was living there, and I would be fine with being berated with racial slurs. That would not affect me at all. I'd be like, oh, you called me the N word? Okay, well, I'm just gonna go take a shit on my gold toilet now. Big fucking, big whoop. But for the most part, all like those old money families, even the ones in America, they're pretty quiet. They're not going on fucking Joe Rogan talking about how they're gonna live to 150 years old and how they get their fucking testicles replaced every week with a different Cambodian child's testicles, right? They're not doing that shit. They're probably doing worse things than that. They're probably like, I don't know, killing people and like sacrificing kids. Shout out True Detective. But they're probably doing some shit like that, but at least they're fucking quiet about it. At least they're just shutting the fuck up and being like, no, we're not going to tell these people. But they don't even they don't even acknowledge the existence of people who are not in the same social strata as them. And I'm not even talking money here. They don't even, like old money people, they don't even acknowledge people that have like new money. They don't acknowledge fucking Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and motherfuckers like that. They're just purely in their own lane, sacrificing kids, fucking wearing wearing the skin of the child as a face mask, doing shit like that. Like shit that Epstein, that's like, I think what Epstein was pushing for. Like Epstein is a new money pedophile, and I think that's why he got caught, and that's why they killed him when he was in prison. He was just a new money pedophile. He had like some big, fancy like Greek style house, right? Like his fucking like temples and shit on Little St. James looked straight out of like Santorini or like one of those cities in Greece. And he was just like this big, fucking bombastic, boisterous guy. And I think that's why the old money pedophiles had him arrested and killed him because they were just like, "What is it? He's ruining the whole fucking show, dude." Yes, obviously we've been sacrificing children forever. Obviously we've been pedophiles forever, like right? But we've been fucking quiet about it. You know what I mean? That's why we colonized the whole world so that we could take fucking black kids from their parents in Africa and sacrifice them up here in London or Oslo or wherever the fuck, right? They were just completely chilling on their own for a while, keeping it nice in the dark, dude. And then Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine. Not really Ghislaine so much. Ghislaine, she's definitely an old money pedophile. But Jeffrey, just a pure new money pedophile coming in, causing a ruckus, making everyone know about the whole thing, right? Like that's no one was really talking about that shit before it happened. Or before Epstein got right? It was all It was like Alex Jones and like some conspiracy theories and shit like that. And then Jeffrey Epstein came in, threw a big old wrench right in the middle of the fucking old money pedophile machine. He fucked it up for all of them, and I think that's why they got him. They were just sick and tired. They were like, Jeffrey, dude, just stop doing it all the time, too. Just stop, Jeffrey. Fucking stop with the shit. I think they had enough of him, and I think that's why they killed him. They weren't scared that he was gonna expose them all. They knew that shit wasn't gonna happen, and even if they did, they run the fucking government, so it's it's ultimately not gonna mean anything. Right. I think they just had enough of his hijinks and his nonsense. I think that's what it was. That they weren't threatened by that. These are the people that like run the government. They invented the fucking governments and shit. Right? So they just had enough of it. They were like, all right, take that guy out. And they didn't feel bad about it at all. That's just another Tuesday afternoon. They were like, all right, dispatch the fucking hitman to the Manhattan jail and have him strangle Jeff Epstein to death, dude. To death. Death. I've had enough of him. I've had enough of his bitch ass dude running around Florida and shit like that. Bring it back up to New York City, because that's where they're all at. They're all in New York City, dude. And maybe that Muslim guy, he'll really get it done and he'll get him kicked out of New York City. I doubt it. I doubt it. Something about the historic precedent set by other Muslim mayors in the Western world does not lead me to believe that this will result in the things that people think it will result in. And I didn't even know the election for the mayoral race in New York isn't until like November. Everyone's gonna forget about him by then, dude. What's that guy's name? Zohan Mabami or whatever the fuck. Daka Dak Mandaka Dak, whatever this guy's name is. He this was a misplay by him by having him like trying to do all this shit right now. It's like, dude, people are gonna forget about that shit by the time the actual election's coming around, dude. If when you're running for office, you got to really start trying to get attention in like August, right? Like even August is a little early, right? Like September or something. Ideally, you would do it the day before the election. You would just try to bring as much attention as you could to yourself as humanly possible the day before the election, right? Because that's how long people are going to remember it for. No one's going to, all the socialists and shit that are advocating for this guy, they're not going to be socialists by then. They're going to have completely changed their worldviews by then, dude. And that's how it works. That's how things work in this modern world. And they'll completely have changed their worldview, but they won't admit it. They won't be like, no, I changed my mind about that. They'll be like, no, never happened. Never, never happened. And so I think that's the read I'm getting out of this whole mayoral race in New York. And even like New York is far away as shit for me, right? I'm never gonna go to New York City in my life. What do you I have no reason to ever go to New York City. It's cool. It's cool to look at like fucking like the penthouse tours in Manhattan or whatever, but I'm never gonna go to New York City, dude. My ancestors were already there for like 10,000 fucking years. I don't need to go to New York City. There's a reason they left. They didn't really leave as much as they were like kicked out and like kind of genocided, but hey, hey, they left it for a reason, so I'm gonna leave it alone there too. But yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna remember this guy by the time the actual elections come around. Everyone, New York is gonna have completely flipped the switch, or the status quo is gonna be maintained. And what's his face? Eric Adams, is that the mayor of New York? I don't fucking know. See, like talking about New York for me is almost like talking about like Israel. You know how like a lot of people view talking about like Israel and Iran and all that shit, where they're like, that shit's on the other side. Like, what effect will that have on my life? What effect will the fucking mayor of New York being an Indian Muslim have? It will have none. Zero effect on my life. If I ever go to New York City, I'm not gonna like be there long enough for his policies to have any effect on me. If any of his policies are even enacted, you know what I mean? All these politicians, it's all the exact same. They talk a big talk. Trump is like, oh, we're gonna deport all the illegal immigrants and we're gonna fucking do this and do that. No, like three illegal immigrants have been deported and they're all 6-year-old girls. All right, it's none of the people. It's none of the people that should be deported. It's no one has been helped. Like seriously, the situation has only gotten worse. And that's what I assume is going to happen there. He's going to open up like his whole thing is like free grocery or not free grocery stores, but like government owned grocery stores that aren't for profit or anything. So the food is going to be super cheap. He's going to open up like one grocery store and it's going to be raided by homeless people within 10 minutes of its opening. Like, seriously, that's what's going to happen there. It's just one grocery store is going to open, a bunch of bums are going to come in and steal all the fucking carrots and Lay's potato chips, chips or whatever the fuck they have there, and it's going to close down within the week. That is the most that this guy is going to do. I wish people would understand that. I wish I would. It's not going to change. It's the only way things truly change on a scale that large is when you get a dictator. And that's people always talk bad about dictators. They're like dictators fucking oppress their people, ruin their countries, kill everyone, all that shit. But you know what else they do? They get some shit done. They get a little bit of shit done. Like Joseph Stalin, awful horrible guy. He did some off. I don't know if he was the one that did the whole Holodomor or whatever the fuck it's called in Ukraine, where like 20 million people starved to death. I don't know if that was Joseph Stalin, but he's definitely done some shit like that. But he also did some other shit. He drained the Aral Sea, which was like this big, important lake kind of in Central Asia where a lot of people got their food and like water and shit from. He drained that. That's another negative. I'm sure Joseph Stalin, though, did at least like one positive thing for the Soviet Union or like Russian people. I kind of doubt it though. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't think of a single one. Maybe it's just my propagandized capitalist American brain causing me to not be able to think of a single positive thing that Joseph Stalin did. But nothing comes to mind. I don't. He mustaches maybe. He kind of, Hitler kind of ruined mustaches for a little bit, and then I feel like all these communists and socialists now all they do is idolize Joseph Stalin, and maybe he brought the mustache back a little bit. He brought Hitler ruined it, and then Joseph Stalin immediately brought it back. I don't, maybe he did something like that, but I think other than that, Joseph Stalin didn't really do a whole lot. Here's another one though, Gaddafi. Gaddafi's my favorite. I think he's the best dictator of all time, and not just like in terms of like coolest, because he's definitely not the coolest dictator. He did do a lot of cool shit. He did have like an all-female bodyguard crew, and they were all like hot as shit. So I mean, fucking shout out Gaddafi for that one. That's pretty sick. But he was like he was the best in terms of he helped his country and like the people of Africa the most, compared to other dictators. Sorry, I had to take a quick water break right there because I had my water all the way across the room, and that's a treacherous journey. It's a difficult Columbus, Lewis and Clark style journey from one side of the room to the other. I had to stop, rest for a minute about halfway through, and scroll TikTok for about for about 15 minutes, just to recoup and regain my energy as I continued on wayward path, my wayward path to get that ice cold, delicious water out of a glass, out of a real glass, not a plastic glass. But anyway, we were having some dictator talk, and I was just talking about how much Gaddafi ruled. And then Hillary Clinton came in, dude. Hillary Clinton was having none of that, dude. She came in, she saw Gaddafi's hot ass bodyguards, and she was like, she did that chick thing that they do, and she was like, why is she hotter than me? Which dudes do too nowadays. And this is getting a little gay, and it's something that I've been noticing, like the whole like look maxing thing on like TikTok and Instagram Reels and shit like that. And it's like, what? I don't hate it because it's like I don't know, it's just gross in general, and it's, very shallow and shit like that. I hate it because it's chick shit. And and I'm not saying men don't have their own pitfalls and stuff like that. There's this thing called rape that I would say outweighs women's tendency to be jealous and overly critical of others. But I'm just saying, if you're a dude, you can't be doing chick shit like that. You can't be like, why is this professional model hotter than me? Like that's what they do. Seriously, they're like, I need to smash my face with a fucking hammer or whatever the fuck these people are doing, whatever these morons are doing, so that they can look like models or whatever. I don't understand it at all. Sometimes it's funny to watch because like, what do you do? You want to look like a model white? It's just complete chick shit. It's pure and utter indulgence into the feminine side of things. Just being like, I need to look like that. Why don't I look like that? Why do some people? And the other thing they do is they'll be like, women are only attracted to like men that look like this, and that. And it's like, yeah, that's how that works. That's pretty much, yeah, you summed it up. It's a real, yeah, you stumbled upon it, Sherlock. People are attracted to hot people. How'd you fucking figure that one out? It's just so fucking annoying. And then they're like,
there's this other thing of like women approach men, not just not ugly men. And it's like, yeah, like women approach like the four hottest dudes in the world, right? And all those guys are fucking psychopaths because of it. Like that's, could you imagine like just walking around and like a chick being like, yo, that dude's hot? That would destroy you. That would complete like that's basically what being a celebrity is. That's why all these fucking celebrities are psychopaths. Whether or not they're psychopaths when they, get into acting or music or whatever, they become psychopaths eventually just because that's not how any human is meant to live, right? Like Louis the 16th or fucking, any one of these monarchs in the ancient times. Those guys were basically the ancient times. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna, you know, have a completely not uneducated, but like a completely lax vernacular, right? I don't care. It's all the ancient times to me, dude. Anything before the year, I'd say probably 2014 is it's all the same. It's all the fucking ancient times. It was just a bunch of barbarians running around. But like the kings of that time, all of them, whether or not they were born psychopaths, they became psychopaths, right? Because that's not how any human is meant to live. No human is meant to live with like the adoration and attention of like millions of people. It's not how it's supposed to work. And it's like even though that isn't, like a negative thing to have people like think you're the shit and think you rule and all that, it just it's so like unnatural to the human mind that it fucks up your mind and you basically become a fucking psychopath. Unless you're Gaddafi. Gaddafi became a little bit of a psychopath. He became just a touch of a psychopath, but not too much. He wasn't as bad as these other guys, dude. Everyone else, they were out here committing genocides and shit, and for some reason we decided to focus in on Gaddafi and make sure he got killed. Don't know why we did it. I think the one thing people blame on it is I guess a couple Libyans went to Berlin in Germany and bombed like a newspaper where they write the shit. What the fuck is that called? A publishing house? Something like that. Whatever. They bombed this place where they make newspapers, and everyone was like, all right, now we need to destroy Libya. We need to destroy Libya because two dudes blew up the most insufferable people on earth. And that's the thing. Like newspaper writers, like people who still hold on to like that old media, they're the most insufferable fucking people on earth. They think it's somehow better. They think it's better to read a newspaper than to watch Fox News. It's the exact same thing. It's just some guy writes a article, right, for someone to read. And it's completely sensationalized. It doesn't make it more true because it's written in a newspaper, if that makes sense. And I don't know. They're just generally insufferable. And really anyone that does anything about the news is pretty fucking insufferable. Like talks about the news seriously, like they know what the fuck is gonna happen. Like, yeah, it's fine to like speculate, make a joke here or there, you know, nothing ever happened, shit like that. But to be like seriously, like you think you know what the fuck is up with the future, the most unpredictable thing in the world, talk with 100% certainty about the future or really even the present. Even in the present, you don't really know what the fuck is going on. And so they're just the most insufferable people on earth. So I don't know if a newspaper if that happened today, if Gaddafi was still alive and he bombed a newspaper in fucking a newspaper, what is it called? It's not a studio. I don't know what the fucking name for it is. But if he bombed one of those, I'd be like, yeah, good. That's they had it coming, dude. Those people are so goddamn annoying. I've never had Gaddafi, go on CNN and tell me I need to stop driving a car or I need to stop like fucking taking showers or whatever the fuck people on CNN are talking about nowadays. Gaddafi's never done that to me. So if anyone's gonna get killed, if I'm gonna be upset about someone being killed, it's not gonna be a fucking newspaper writer. You know what I mean? Don't care at all. Completely insufferable. Some of the most annoying people on earth. Genuinely so fucking annoying. I hate them. I hate them so much. Like even when I read the articles to do the current events for this, I'm like, who wrote it? Like why did you write it like this? Why are you fucking doing this, dude? It just pisses me off so much. Just something about it. I really, really dislike them. And so yeah, Gaddafi, good guy in my book. Even with the newspaper bombing, still a good guy in my book. Zero, zero issue, zero fucking problem with that guy. That honestly makes me like him more. Forget about all the things he did for like Libya and Africa as a whole, how he like raised like the literacy rates and the quality of life and shit like that. Forget about that, dude. Just blowing up a couple of annoying nerds who fucking just sit in a dark room all day and fucking write about whatever they write about. That makes me like him more. Sorry. Sorry, liberals. Sorry, woke left. All right. Murder makes me like you more, depending on who you murdered, right? And I don't know. But that's true of everyone, right? Like the fucking whole Luigi Mangione thing, who, by the way, I've already went over this. No way he fucking killed that guy. No way it was fucking Luigi Mangione who killed that guy. A gay Italian dude, he definitely would have fucking confessed that shit by now. He would have been telling everyone, dude. It's gay plus Italian. That's nonstop yapping. And that's coming from me, dude. That's coming from me. He would have been telling everyone about that shit. So I don't think it was Luigi Mangione. But he was a guy that murdered a couple people, or he murdered one person, sorry, but he murdered the right person. See, that's the thing. You can get away with murder as long as you murder the right person. And maybe not, you can't get away with it in terms of the law, right? Because they'll still come and fucking arrest you. Like socially, you can kind of get away with murder as long as you do it to the right person. And hey, I'm not saying he did it to the wrong person. I'm not saying it wasn't, you know, that there wasn't any level of justification to it. I'm just saying he did kill a guy, right? He did murder a guy. Maybe murder isn't the right word. Maybe killing is the right word in that scenario. But I don't know. You run up on an unarmed guy in the street and you shoot him in the head with a gun. I would call that murder, even if that guy's the biggest piece of shit in the world. It I would still lean towards the word murder as opposed to the word killing in that situation. Even if he did. Hey, not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm just saying I think it's fair to call that one murder. I think that's a reasonable term to use in that situation. But that's an important life lesson there. Look, I'm not saying you should be a serial killer, but if you got those tendencies, if you get like that deep found urge within you to just like kill humans and like I don't know, like see the blood come out of their bodies or whatever the fuck serial killers are it do. I don't know. I watched that whole show Mindhunter, which is about like the how the FBI made like the serial killer protocols, like how they find serial killers, right? Like using the psychology that they know all serial killers have. Still don't understand it at all. I'm like, do they like blood or is it like killing? Like, what the fuck are they into? But if you are a serial killer and whatever makes you want to kill people, don't know what it is, don't really care to be 100% honest. But if you're into that, kill the right people. You know, if you got that bloodlust inside of you, do it in the right circumstances. You know what I mean? Take out the people that everyone wants to get taken out. You know, that everyone wants, not just like, don't just be like, oh, well, 50% of the people in the country hate Trump and then kill him, but it's 50% of the people hate him and 50% of the people love him. Take out someone that just everyone fucking, like, who's a completely insufferable person that no one likes. I'm trying to think of one. I don't know. Hassan Piker's pretty fucking annoying. I feel like most people, even I don't know how any socialist likes that guy. He's just so fucking annoying. But maybe not him. I feel like he probably has a dedicated fan base of 14-year-olds. But the other thing about that is the 14-year-old girls, right? I should have specified that with Hassan Piker. His fan base is entirely 14-year-old girls. 14-year-old girls, especially the weird ones, you know, the ones that wear like black sometimes or all the time and like dye their hair and cut their wrists occasionally, they fucking love serial killers too. So maybe Hassan Piker is the right person to take out if you're a serial killer, right? Because like I said, his fan base is entirely 14-year-old girls, but 14-year-old girls, they also really fucking love serial killers or just women in general. I don't know why I had to specify how the age. Women in general just fucking adore serial killers. Personally, I don't get it. Like if a chick was out here like killing dudes and shit, like what's that movie with Charlize Theron, Monster or whatever? Doesn't make me any more attracted to her. Maybe for some people it does, maybe for some dudes it does, but I don't really see that going on. But for some reason, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's like the caveman brain or like the cave woman brain part of women that make them love serial killers, being like, oh, well, this guy killed this guy. That must mean he's big and strong and that he can hunt a mammoth for me. Like maybe that's why they love serial killers. I don't know what it is, but they love them. I'm not too into them. I'm more into cults, right? And chicks, that's another chick thing. They're really into cults. I love watching cult documentaries and stuff like that, but like occasionally every once in a while, you know, when you watch a cult documentary on Hulu or fucking HBO or whatever, it'll recommend a serial killer documentary. And I've tried watching a couple of them and I'm just like, what are we doing here? They just kill that guy. Like what? I don't care about anything about that guy. All he did was kill people, and so we should probably kill him. But I don't know, something about cults is just so much more interesting to me. It's like, how did they convince all these people to fucking do that, dude? It's like How do you convince like Jim Jones with Jonestown and shit like that, where he convinced like 900 people, almost 1,000 people to all kill themselves? I don't know. There's something more interesting to me about that than a guy who just runs around with a knife and like kills sorority girls or whatever. Like it doesn't, I don't know. It's just not as interesting to me. Because it's also like I could do that, right? Maybe not mentally. I maybe don't have like the mental goings on of a serial killer, but like physically, I could definitely see myself doing that. I could definitely, plan out how to kill someone, and I could do it multiple times like a serial killer does. Mentally, yeah, I couldn't reach the same conclusion they do, but like, I don't know, I could see myself doing that. Not killing sorority girls, but like, I don't know. If I was a psychopath, right? If I had like a strong bloodlust, if you just switch that little flip that little switch in my brain, right? Cross the wires a little bit and just made me want to kill people all the time. You know, I could see myself being a Dahmer, but like if I had any inclination to start a cult, I don't think I would be able to do it, right? Like this is evidence of that. I have like three, not even three people. No one listens to this at all. Right. So it's like, I know I couldn't start a cult. So maybe that's why it's more interesting to me. Maybe like the whole serial killer thing is like, yeah, I could also stab people with a knife, right? Like it's not a difficult thing to do. That's not like a impossible task that I could never in a million years be able to accomplish. But a cult truly is. I could never in a million years see myself leading a cult, right? Even if I wanted to, even if that was a personal desire, a New Year's resolution of mine. If my New Year's resolution was to start a cult, dude, I'd fail on that shit. But if my New Year's resolution was to, kill a bunch of gay prostitutes, then yeah, I could see getting that job done, right? If I was a psychopath or whatever. But if I was a psychopath, I don't think I could start a cult, if that makes if that makes any sense at all. And so I think that's why I find cults more interesting. It's just like how do you fucking do that, dude? I understand the serial killer things, dude. Yeah, you bashed a guy's head in with a fucking rock. Most people could do that. Most people can't really get a good cult going though. Some people, and I'm talking about a real cult here. I'm not talking about like a bitch ass like you got 14, 15 followers. I'm talking 20 plus. If you can get 20 plus under your belt, that's where it starts to get impressive to me. I feel like I could probably get at least, 10, maybe like 13, 14, something like that. But like when we get into like 20s and 30s and shit like that, hey man, fucking hats off to you. I don't know how you got that one done. You must have found the biggest morons on earth. Maybe that's the trick to starting a cult. Maybe that's the thing I don't understand about. I don't know how to seek out morons like that. And it's like, I don't know. Even though I am a moron, maybe that makes it harder for me to seek out morons, and maybe that's why I'll never be able to start a cult. But I don't know. Go to Mississippi or something, I guess, if you want to start a cult, because that place is just completely filled to the brim, dude, overflowing with morons. So, but yeah, I just couldn't see myself ever doing that. And I'm talking about like a real cult here, right? Like not one of like those cults that's kind of like a subsect of Christianity or like Islam or whatever. I'm talking about a real full on, like I make up my own like theology and cosmology, right? I make up my own myths about like the gods and what happens after we die. Yeah, I could see myself becoming like a fringe Christian pastor, right? That like has like some fringe ideas about the Bible and shit like that, but I couldn't see myself, fully forming like a L. Ron Hubbard like Scientology style cult. I don't know. I just don't have it in me like that. But yeah, if I was to start a cult, yeah, I'd probably have to base it off Christianity or something, which is just, yeah, that is a cult for sure. Like if you have like a weird Christian cult going on, but I don't know. It just doesn't count to me as the full thing. You know what I mean? It's yeah, you did it. You technically did it, but it was just kind of lazy. You know what I mean? You cut some corners. You weren't really fully dedicated to the craft as you should have been. If that, you know, it's anyone can become like a pastor and have like a devout, cult following like that, but not everyone can create like their own mythology about fucking, the earth is actually a fucking flying saucer or whatever, and we're all aliens headed toward, our heavenly destination or whatever some of these people believe. Not everyone can do that. I do think anyone could, start like a church in the South and get people to believe that, I don't know, Jesus was gay or whatever these people are trying to get people to believe. I think anyone in theory could do that, but not everyone can start, a Heaven's Gate style cult, like a real authentic, like full on. Everyone's wearing like the same clothes and shit. They all fucking, say praise Zorpers. They all like legally change their name to something weird. They all give you all their money and shit like that. I don't think everyone can do that. I certainly could not do that as hard as I might try. As hard as I could try. Maybe that could be a fun experiment. That could be like the first experiment we do in the independent learning lab is trying to start like an internet cult or something like that. And an internet cult, that's also pretty easy to do. It's, until people are meeting up in real life and like, I don't know, like slitting their wrists and like putting their wrists together so that they become like blood siblings or whatever, it's not a real cult. Like all these online cults that you hear about, that's just like a money laundering scheme, basically. That's just people trying to get money from morons they meet on the internet. Like a real authentic cult, it's a tall task, dude. It's a fucking, you know what I mean? That's the Mount Everest of being a psychopath. You know, it's the hardest one. It's the most difficult one. It's the one they all want to reach. All psychopaths, I think, eventually just want to be cult leaders. And maybe that's why I don't want to be a cult leader. Just doesn't appeal to me at all. I'm like, fucking all these people annoying me all the time, just talking my ear off about nonsense, asking me about like the fucking, the gods that I made up in my head. No, I don't want. I don't want to deal with that. It's so annoying. Fuck off, dude. Figure it out on your own. That's what I did. I started this cult. I figured out, how all the fucking gods in the afterlife works and shit like that. Stop bothering me about it, dude. Figure it out on your own. And I don't know, maybe that's just an indication that I need to start a different style of cult, right? Where it's like a self-enlightenment or something like that. Maybe I could see myself doing it, but I don't know. Couldn't see myself doing that one. Couldn't see myself owning a pug either, which is the topic of today's episode. The most vile, disgusting creature to ever grace this earth. Truly, truly the most vile, disgusting creature. Everyone thinks man, is the ultimate detriment to earth. I think it's pugs, dude. Pugs are hubris incarnate. Not even hubris incarnate, just all the most disgusting desires that every single human has deep inside of them. The pug is a manifestation of that. The pug is a manifestation of Adam and Eve's original sin that they committed in the Garden of Eden. That's truly this is pugs are a manifestation of the rejection of God. That's what they are. Like truly, if you hate God, then you love pugs. And I feel like there is a correlation there. Because all the people that are like, oh, pugs are so cute, me, 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 me. Like these are the most, maybe not like the worst people you've ever met before, but like truly, they truly reject anything godly. Right? And that's coming from someone who isn't even a Christian. All right, so you can suck my dick all you fucking you just think that because you're a Christian. Pugs are that. They're like the precipice of like atheism and Western liberalism and all these fucking, enlightenment quote unquote ideas. It's just the fucking every awful thing that man has ever done has all culminated and led to the creation of the pug. I hate them so. If you have a pug out there, kill it right now and then kill yourself. Please, for the love of God. Load two fucking shotgun shells into a gun, blow that poor innocent creature's head off, and then do the same to yourself. That's how much I hate these people that created the pug. I hate the animal itself. I truly do. I think it's disgusting. I think it's vile. I think it shouldn't exist. I think if I was to ever become a dictator, I would commit a genocide against pugs. But, and that seems like a true level of hate there. But there's a level of hate above that. And the level of hate above that for me personally is the people that created the pug, the people that fucking bred the pug into existence. I hate those people infinitely more than I hate the animal. And my only the only way that I would ever become a dictator is so that I could fucking kill every single one of these people. Truth. Just blow all of their heads off. If I was ever, that might be my motivation to start a cult. Truly. Like the anti-pug cult. Like that's the only thing that could drive me to do that because I hate them so much. I hate the people that like them. I hate the people that made them. I hate the people that tolerate their fucking existence. If you see a pug and you don't I'm not saying you have to run up to it on the street and fucking pick it up like the Hulk and slam it into the ground until it's dead. I wouldn't judge you if you did that. But if you see a pug in public and your immediate thought isn't, I should murder that guy and his animal, I don't trust you as a human being. Truly. Truly in my heart of hearts, I don't think that you are a human being who will ever amount to anything significant in your life. And that's the truth of it. That's the truth of pugs. Truly the most vile creature. Truly, if I don't think, the snake in the Garden of Eden was actually a snake. I think it was a pug. I think God saw the future. He knew Adam and Eve were going to eat those fucking apples, and he knew that eventually humanity would go on to create the pug, and he said that is everything I stand against. That might be the one thing that God and the devil are able to agree on. We should kill. That might be what unites everyone. That if you're running for president right now and you really want to unite the vast majority of people against a common enemy, run on an anti-pug platform. You have my vote 100%. Never voted in my life. I will commit voter fraud if you are a presidential candidate and your promise is to exterminate all pugs and their owners. Truly, 100%. I would go to the polls. I would fill out 1,000 ballots in your name. I would shove them in there. I would fucking hack the system to make sure you won in a landslide, just so we could commit that genocide against those animals and those people. Truly. And I do think it's a genocide, right? Because genocide is you're trying to wipe out a certain, ethnic group, usually, right? Or ethnic groups, several. That's what a genocide is. And I truly believe that some people are just genetically predisposed to liking pugs or tolerating their existence or thinking they're cute. And I think those people don't deserve life and they don't certainly don't deserve to be able to reproduce. That's how I feel about it. That they're an overall detriment to our society. And it's not just that they like pugs, it says a lot about a person. It says a lot about a person when you ask them their opinion on pugs, right? If you ask a person what do you think about pugs and they're just like, whatever, it that to me indicates you're not a free thinker or a thinker of really any kind, right? You're not a free thinker, you're not an independent thinker, you're not a dependent thinker, you don't think ever, right? That's what that says to me. And if I ask you your opinion about pugs and you say, "Oh, I like pugs," that to me indicates that you are a psychopath whose only goal in life is to have everything around you be what you want it to be, and I think you also deserve to die as well. I think I think both of those people, if your reaction is anything other than they should never have been created and all of the ones that have been created should be killed along with the people who created them, then I don't respect you as a human being. I really I really don't. But, you know, we've got some fun facts about pugs. Unfortunately, they do exist, and unfortunately, there are some fun facts about them. So our first fun fact is that pugs originated in China around 400 BC. You're thinking dogs, you're thinking China, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I was thinking the same thing at first. I was like, "Oh, these are the cows of China. These are the chickens of China. These are the pigs, any livestock animal you could think of. This is the Chinese version of that." you know but then you kind of look at a pug and you think like that's not a very efficient animal, right? Like a cow is a very efficient animal in terms of its ability to produce calories, right? Like a cow, it makes milk, it makes a ton of meat, all that good shit, and so it makes a ton of calories, right? But you look at a pug and that's an entirely inefficient animal in just about every way possible. It doesn't I've never enjoyed a glass of pug milk before. I've never sipped on that pug brew. I've never eaten a pug leg. And I've never heard of anyone doing it, right? Like you see that sometimes those videos of like the Chinese dog festivals where they torture the dogs to death and then they eat the dogs, but they're all like dingoes and like mutts and shit like that, not a pug to be seen. And that is because pugs were uh originally bred to be companion dogs. So they don't do anything. That's been the pug's purpose since the beginning, and that's an indication of their, you know, just awful existence in general, right? Like every dog, like a Labrador, right, or a Golden Retriever, those are both dogs that are used to retrieve ducks from the water. Or and I think some of them they use them to retrieve like fish nets from the water and shit like that. But they have a job, right? Same with poodles. Poodles were also bred for that purpose, to retrieve things from the water. Same with like border collies, bred to retrieve things or bred to herd animals. That's what border collies were bred to do. Pit bulls, bred to fucking rip animals to shreds. Look, I know the pit bull people are quite defensive of their animals, and I get it, dude. I'm of the personal belief that you can train a dog to do anything, but I mean, let's be fucking honest here. Pug or not pugs, pit bulls were originally bred to just rip various animals to shreds. They're not like hunting dogs where they like track the scent of the animal and like chase it down or whatever. No, pit bulls were designed to fucking run up on like a bear or a pig or whatever and rip its body apart limb by limb. It's what they were designed to do. Look, you can train it to do other things. It's a dog, right? You can train it to do other things, but what it was designed to do, what people bred it for, was to rip animals apart piece by piece. It's what it is. Not talking bad about pit bulls. Met a few in my life. Eh, they they haven't all been the most friendly I've ever met before, but look, no more than any other dog. They're just really good at killing. They're just physically really good at, ripping a dude's arm off or whatever. That's why pit bulls are so dangerous, right? It's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a comparison, but they're just designed to be incredibly just the most dangerous thing they can be. And hey, look, that's a job, all right? Especially in like the medieval times and shit like that, like the 1800s, you needed an animal that could rip another animal to shreds. That was a purpose that was required during those times. But pugs, you didn't fucking need that. Pugs are just, they're a manifestation of decadence. That's what they are. It's just this guy lives in a fucking castle, or I guess they have castles in China. I don't know what the fuck they call them, palaces or whatever. This rich fucking Chinese guy lives in a palace somewhere, and he doesn't need an animal for any other purpose than to keep him company. And so he breeds this disgusting, awful monster that only exists because of his own decadence. And I think if I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back in time and kill Hitler. I would kill whoever whoever came up with this idea. I would murder that guy, shoot him straight in his goddamn head. Because, as Kanye West said, every person has something of value, especially Hitler. That's why I wouldn't murder Hitler. No, he's high up on the list. He ruined a lot of things. A lot of things got ruined because of Hitler. It's kind of why that's why he's like in every textbook as the most evil guy. He's near the top of the list. I don't know if he's number one overall. There's guys that have done a lot worse things and things that had a more negative impact across society than he did, but he's definitely near the top of that one. He's definitely. But then this guy, Pug Guy's right below. Pug Guy might even be above him. You know what I mean? Because at least people were able to acknowledge that what Hitler did was wrong. No one acknowledges the wrongdoing of this guy who made the pug. Everyone is like, Hitler's the most evil guy ever, but no one points to the pug guy and goes, look at how evil he is. They're too busy focused on Hitler. I don't understand why. Focus on the pug guy, dude. He did way worse things. No, he didn't. But you guys know what I mean. And the pug was popularized in the West by the House of Orange of the Netherlands in the 1500s. So these people in the Netherlands, and if you know anything about the Netherlands, I mean, they're awful people. Truly, as a whole, people from the Netherlands are awful. I like Afrikaners, who are Dutch people who live in South Africa. They're fine, but people from the Netherlands, they're so European, right? And what I mean by that, they're just so fucking like lazy all the time about everything. No, nothing new is being built in the Netherlands. The only new thing being built in the Netherlands is like suicide pods and shit like that, right? Like government sanctioned suicide facilities are the only thing being built in the Netherlands right now. They're just some of my least favorite Europeans. I don't really like any of the Western European peoples, right? Like Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, the UK, Ireland. Don't like any of them. I really only like some select groups from like Eastern Europe, right? Like the former Yugoslav states, right? Like Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, shit like that. I fuck with those guys because they still got that dog in them, right? They're not like the rest of the Europeans where they're just like sitting back and letting whatever happen to their country. They still got a little bit of that dog in them. Sometimes it's a bad dog, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's a pit bull and not a golden retriever. Sometimes it's a dog that tells them to commit genocide, but they still hey, They still got that dog in them, unlike the people of Western Europe. And I don't know, people are going to be like, oh, well, the Netherlands is actually part of Northern Europe. It's all the same. You guys know what I mean. I'm talking about lazy Europeans who have embraced all the negative parts of every political ideology, right? A lot of people look at Europe right now, the EU, shit like that, and they think that they're all leftists or whatever, but they're not, right? They haven't embraced any of the good parts of that ideology. They've only embraced the negative parts of every ideology, right? Like they all have like a hint of fascism to them, right? Where in like Germany and France and Britain and shit like that, you can get arrested for saying something negative about someone or a group of people or whatever, just having a not saying the things that the government wants you to say. You can be arrested in those countries for that. And that's like the worst part of fascism. That is by far the worst part of fascism. The good part about fascism is that everyone works together, but no one in any of those countries actually work together to accomplish anything. Same with like communism, right? They have all the negative parts of communism where they're all taxed to shit, but none of the positive parts, right? Like all their roads are horrible. None of their healthcare systems function even close to where they should. None of them function even close to the American healthcare system. Truly, they don't. They have none of the positive parts about communism. Same with every other ideology. They have all the negative parts of the right, where they, you know, I don't know, don't tax companies and shit like that, but they tax the shit out of their people. It's just every negative part of every ideology, whether it be political or economic or moral or whatever, is it's all Europe has embraced all the negative parts of it. So that's why I truly hate Europe. And yeah, I'm not surprised that they were the ones that made the pug into the pug we have today, right? Because originally over in China, the pugs weren't what we think of when we think of modern pugs. They had like the longer snouts, right? Their faces weren't completely flat, which is kind of the opposite of what you would think in China, right? You think they'd all have flat faces. But no, they didn't. They did not have flat faces. They had big, long faces, like long snouts and shit like that. Not the entire face was long. That would be a little off-putting. I'm sure there's, I'm sure there's some weird dog breeder out there that's trying to make the entire face of the dog equally long, and I'm sure that will become the next big trend in the suburbs over the next few years. But that's not what they were doing in China. They had a pretty decent pug going on. It wasn't. It was, I'm sure it was a little bit inbred, but it wasn't full on what you think of now when you think of a pug. And I didn't write this down, but modern day pugs were created in Europe with two different dog breeds that were from China. And so, uh, pug ancestors were called Lo Chiang Jie, I think, or Lo Jie. And this name means short legged and short mouthed, but their mouths really weren't that short. They'd look up an old Chinese pug. Looks kind of like a normal dog. You know, it's you can tell it's a little bit fucked up. You can tell maybe its parents were cousins, but it wasn't like full on what we think of today. Its face was a little bit shorter than a normal dog, but not nearly as bad as the modern pug. And Queen Victoria of England was obsessed with pugs and even bred her own. And this passion for dogs, guess she just loved dogs as a whole, led to the creation of the Kennel Club. And that's another thing I want to bring up here real quick is these people that are obsessed with purebred dogs. It pisses me off to no end. Unless you're getting a dog for a specific purpose, right? Like if you need like a bloodhound to like follow the scents of rabbits and shit like that, or you need like a retriever to go out and grab ducks, or you need like a border collie to herd sheep, or you need, a fucking Anatolian shepherd to guard your livestock. There's no reason for you to get a purebred dog. There's no reason for it. And really, the idea of purebred dogs is kind of a myth, right? Purebred kind of just means inbred. It's the same genetic lineage. That's all a purebred dog is. It's basically just an inbred animal. And it's no surprise that Queen Victoria, whose entire family was inbred, was obsessed with inbreeding these animals as well. Zero surprise there. And yeah, I'd probably kill her too. Once again, everyone that I'm naming here, Queen Victoria, the House of Orange in the Netherlands, all of them deserve death, in my opinion, and not because, they're the bourgeoisie and they're oppressing their people. It's just, I mean, how can you look at this and not think like that person has too much? That person has too much money. That person has too much time. Like seriously, that's what I think when I look at this. I'm like, this bitch, fucking, someone put her in the fields or something, because she's too focused on making sure these dogs have flat faces. That's not an issue. It's not a real problem. And that's what I wanted to talk about with the Kennel Club. I hate it. It's so fucking stupid to me. It's like, no, this dog needs to be pure. Why? Why does the dog need to be purebred? No, it doesn't. That's there's like most people don't need a purebred dog for any purpose, right? It doesn't assist in their life that their golden retriever is a purebred golden retriever. And even then, a golden retriever isn't even purebred because nothing is purebred because that's not how that works. That's not this is just a completely man-made idea that these people put on these animals that being purebred is somehow a thing, right? Not how that works at all. It doesn't indicate anything about the dog. It doesn't add or take away any value, right? There are unless you need it for working purposes. Outside of that, there's no reason to get a purebred dog. And if that's what you're focused on when you're getting a dog, you're retarded. Next up, next little fun fact that we got about pugs is the expectancy. Fuck, I added like 8 extra ins into that word, dude. Maybe I'm a pug. I'm not able to function very well. The average life expectancy is 7.65 years, whereas the average life expectancy of any dog as a whole is 11.25 years. So, I mean, pugs are bringing the average down too. I'm sure other dogs hate pugs because they're like, you're making us look bad, dude. You're making us look bad by breathing heavy all the time, by just having that weird fucked up face and those weird disgusting eyes and just being gross in general and not living that long and just being awful at being a dog. I'm sure the other dogs hate on the pugs too. Because looking at this, dude, 7.65 years compared to 11.25 years or 11.23. Apologies. Apologies to the pug community. Um, or the dog community. I don't know who I'm apologizing to here. That's I mean, that's got to be bringing the average down a fair bit of the average being 11.23. Like if there was no pugs, the average life expectancy of a dog would probably be, I mean, 12 years. Because the pugs, I mean, dude, they're seriously bringing the average down here. They're making all the other dogs look bad. I mean, seriously, I'd be pissed if I was a dog, dude. If I was a pit bull and I saw a pug in public, I would kill it. And not because I'm a pit bull and I'm inherently violent. I would kill it because it's making everyone else look bad, dude. I'm a pit bull. I'm a machine made out of pure muscle and violence. And this little thing is walking around and you're trying to say that's the same thing as me, dude? Fuck no. If I was a pit bull, I would tear that thing to shreds like it was a toddler. And then another fun fact about pugs is that pugs lack a prominent skeletal brow ridge, which causes their eyes to bulge from their heads. Right? And people will, you know, the pug lovers out there, when they talk about pugs, they're like, oh, look at his eyes. That's because it doesn't have the thing that protects their eyes, basically. That's what a prominent skull brow ridge does. It protects its eyes. It allows its eyes to be shielded from like the elements and shit like that. So when you see a pug with big bulging eyes, that's basically like there's no human equivalent to that. Maybe occasionally you'll see a person with some like severe genetic deformity or who got his mom got fucking punched in the stomach when she was pregnant with him. Occasionally you'll see someone like that, but not even close to a pug, dude. And that's the other thing is people will be like, "Oh, well, do you think disabled people deserve not to live?" No, I think disabled people deserve to live, right? And that's also because a dog isn't a person. That's the other thing about that. But they'll be like, "Oh, you think pugs should all be you think they shouldn't exist because they're disabled? Well, do you think humans that are disabled shouldn't deserve to exist?" No. But I think if you're a human being who is willingly breeding other human beings with each other to make the most disabled person possible, I think you're a bad person and that you should not be allowed to exist in society anymore. Right? I mean, I don't know if that's the most insane thing anyone's ever heard, but and obviously they're dogs, right? They're dogs, they're not people. I know a lot of people treat their dogs like they are people. They are just dogs, but still. I mean, it's insane that I don't know that this is like even legal, right? Could you imagine? You're just like inbreeding this thing until it can't function anymore. Like I don't that feels like animal abuse to me. That feels like you should probably go to jail for at least a few years if you're like breeding these animals. Just knowingly inbreeding animals that will live with like lifelong torture. I don't know. I don't think you're a good person if you do that, and I think the law might agree with me. Because I mean, I don't know. Maybe we should adjust the animal abuse laws to include breeding pugs. And then another thing about pugs, dude. All pugs have brachial, wait, brachycephaly. All right, and brachy means like air, lungs, shit like that. Like that's kind of like the Latin meaning of that. And then cephaly means head. Don't know how much it applies to this, but it's a condition caused by their flat faces, and this condition deforms the upper airway tract and obstructs breathing. So that's why if you've ever seen one of these poor creatures in public, you hear like a right, you hear like a fucking Walking Dead zombie or whatever, and you're like, should I get out a gun and shoot something? What's that noise? And then you look over and you see it's just a pug. And that's because pugs can't breathe properly because their faces are so flat, right? It's basically like their sinuses are all fucked up, their noses are all fucked up. I'm sure even their mouths are and like their throats and like their what's that called? Your trachea. I'm sure that's all fucked up too, right? And that's not even because of their flat faces. That's just because they're severely, severely inbred. And pugs are more than 4 times as likely to develop red mange. And mange is it's like a skin disease for dogs. Basically, it makes them like lose all their fur and like they get covered in sores. It's almost like maybe not leprosy for dogs, but it's pretty close. It like completely fucks up their skin and makes them lose all their fur. And necrotizing menin meningocephalitis. So let's try this. Necrotizing meningocephalitis or pug dog encephalitis eats the dog's brain alive and affects approximately 2% of pugs. So it's not like a disease or anything. Or I guess you could call it a genetic disease. It's a product of their genetic inbreeding. And it's kind of like dementia, you can think of it. It kills certain parts of their brain. It, it like gets in there, it like cuts off the blood or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but it basically rots their brain while they're still alive. And yeah. So it's basically dementia. That's how you can kind of think about this, right? Where dementia is like it's a buildup of a waxy protein in your brain that basically suffocates your brain while you're still alive. This is the pug version of that. And I mean, the disease is literally named after them. The genetic condition, whatever you want to call it, is literally named after them. Pug dog encephalitis. Yeah, it eats their brain alive. Their brain essentially rots from the inside out. That's what necrosis is. Like, if you've ever heard of like when diabetic people get their feet cut off, that's because of necrosis caused by the restriction of blood vessels, if I'm remembering correctly, right? Basically, the blood, it doesn't it doesn't properly pump throughout their legs, right? And that's where it starts. That's where the necrosis starts. And it basically just the blood doesn't flow properly there, and so their leg or their foot is rotting alive, and so they have to get it cut off. And that's essentially what's happening to the pug's brain. The pug's brain isn't getting enough of, oxygen or the neurons are deteriorating. And so there's literally dead matter inside of the animal's brain while it's still alive. So yeah, shout out to pugs for that one. And then this is another fun fact about pugs. Pugs have a COI, which is let me see if I can get it's like what is it? There's a genetic inbreeding coefficient. That's what COI means. Uh, Pugs have a COI of approximately 40%. And for reference, two siblings, right? Like two animal siblings or human siblings, whatever it is, when they reproduce, they have a COI of about 25%. So this is the I don't even know. I don't even know how they did that, dude, because it's like how more inbred can you get between two like siblings? Two sibling dogs mating with each other. Maybe this is just a dog thing. I know inbreeding is different with all animals. I know that chickens don't really get inbred. But yeah, I mean, just a complete, scientifically almost impossible. Truly, like that's how inbred these poor fucking creatures are. And then 80 to 90% of pugs are born via C-section due to their large heads and messed up hips. That's also another thing about pugs. They all have hip dysplasia, right? Where their hips, the the femur bone essentially doesn't fit properly into the pelvis bone. And so all their hips are fucked up and all their heads are gigantic and flat and they can't breathe and they all have red mange and all their brains are rotting while they're still alive. I mean, what more can I say? It's the worst animal on earth, far and away. And I think they should all be killed. The Chinese did it. The Chinese killed all like the ducks and the chickens and stuff when the bird flu got to China. Why can't we kill all the pugs? I mean, it's not a tall task, dude. You're not really gonna be chasing these things down. They can't run. They can barely move. They can barely breathe. Why don't we just kill all of them and then fucking lock up or kill all the people who bred them? That's all I've got about pugs today, dude. I'm sick and tired of them. If you see a pug in public, I'm not saying kill it, but I mean, I don't know. If you do, I'm not gonna be mad at you. But have a good day, good week, good year, good life, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. Peace.